Alright, so the Gangler raid army made specifically to fight Moonlord Master just because it has this dark and water element bonus for the Dark Wisp and Hydro Slicer should potentially be pretty powerful, a pretty small hitbox as well, and then a big attack stat. So they're a little bit squishy with pretty low bulk, but that should be fine if I am participating in the fight as well. So we're gonna do one fight where I'm participating just to try them out. We're gonna have Lavender as the sort of budget rescue pal. Not add to party. Don't attack. There we go. Nurse skin Lavender when. So just gonna start the fight and sort of see how it goes with me participating now. And then we're gonna compare these Ganglers to a couple of other armies later on. And for this main eye, you can actually use the multi-guided missile launcher a bit more success with that one. Just because of how it interacts with that center eye. They sort of hover around. You can just keep on shooting as much as you like. They will hover around that center eye. It's already down. And then for these eyes, I think this hasn't been fixed yet. Let's try a shot and see where the missile goes. Yeah, it just really wants to go for that center eye. So then you can change to the charge rifle and sort of tap. Can be a little bit hard to see when the eye opens with all the projectiles. Mainly, right now I'm just listening for the Terra Prisma. When you hear the Terra Prisma actually hitting, that's when you know you can release the trigger. Otherwise you just want to tap that charge rifle. Second eye down. There's a lot of tricks you can do with Moonlord Master. You don't have to fight him. Don't want to say properly, because I don't really know what the intended way to fight was. Like, otherwise you can just leave the base a little bit and come back. And he won't attack you at all. So there's a couple of tricks you can do, hovering above him as well. Let's see, how are the Ganglers doing? The problem with some pals is that they group up below, and then they tend to miss a bit more. Okay, we got the main heart left, so it seems to be pretty fine. 1.5 minutes on the fight is pretty quick compared to what I've seen happen before. Lavender doing her thing. Maybe I could have gone just Lavender as the rescue pal and left the Neptilius. But this was more a trial run. Not a super serious one, just gonna see how they are. And then we're gonna do the full-on comparison with all my other raid armies after this to see how it stacks up with all the like different aspects that affect the Moonlord Master fight, which is mainly how bulky they are, how big the hitbox is, and sort of the movement pattern as well. Like, if they get rescued, some pals walk slowly back before attacking. That's a lot of downtime. Some just launch their attacks from over there. Some stack up under the boss and don't shoot. So I think this was pretty successful. I don't feel like I was doing a whole lot of damage myself. Just enough to kind of survive with Lavender's heal. You could use Felbat as well for that, but I covered that in earlier Moonlord Master videos. So let's jump straight into the comparison part. We're going to be comparing it to pretty much all my other raid armies just to see how they perform. So I did the same thing as I did on my previous test, just 3 fights against Moonlord Master and took the average time. And on this test, Gangler ranked up as the second best army to do with this sort of method, with no player interaction, just watching them fight, leaving the base and going back, and having this sort of setup where the laser beam doesn't really hit any pals, it's just going across the pal box. And if you want to compare it to Neptilius, it's lacking around 20 in every single stat. It's lacking the health stat, the attack stat, and the defense stat. But the benefit is just partly getting this bonus on Dark Wisp, I guess, but also just having this smaller hitbox. You'll see fewer Ganglers going down against these random eyeball attacks than you would with the Neptilius army. So the Neptilius army was also a bit more random, I feel, because what would happen was they would get this really good fight where they would knock out the eye in the first eye that they actually target, they could potentially knock out in 2 attacks, like the Beam Slicer plus Hydro Slicer, and then aim the Dark Wisp for the second eye instead, and then they would get that 1.5 minute sort of fight, where Gangler was just much more consistent. They didn't really manage to knock out any of the eyes in 2 attacks and aim the third attack at the center eye. Instead, they would just be very consistent with not going down. So all the Gangler fights were really within like 5 seconds of each other or something, just very consistent. They would use the attacks on the first eye, the second eye, the third eye, and then the center. So it's just 4 waves of attacks for Gangler every single time, and they're just very consistent when not going down. Also, another thing of note is just the attack priority. If you compare Neptilius to Gangler, they want to use the sort of same element bonus attack first. Neptilius might have used the attacks in a slightly different order, and then you also have Gangler using this Dark Cannon attack with the homing bit, like their basic filler attack is a homing attack compared to Neptilius aqua attack. Just small differences there really to compare those two pals. Overall they're just fish, water fish. One has better stats but a larger hitbox, so that's how that sort of comes into play. And then against other raid armies or other raids, Neptilius will just shine more just because it's not dark, when you got all the like meteor rains from Rio and Xenoloord and stuff like that. They will probably be pretty good against Libro, but everything is good against Libro nowadays. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.